Welcome to X Confessions Unlocked, where X secrets spill, revenge gets served, and sometimes X's come crawling back. Subscribe now for real, unfiltered stories about love gone wrong, and sometimes very right. Drop a comment with your X drama. Yours could be next.
The morning I left Daniel, the sun was shining. I remember that detail because it felt wrong somehow, like the universe should have been weeping with him when I walked out the door of our home for the last time. But no, it was one of those perfect spring days where the air smelled like fresh cut grass and the birds wouldn't stop singing. I told myself that was a sign, that the world was approving my choice. The truth was, I'd stopped loving Daniel Westwood long before I met Lucien Moretti. Our marriage had become a comfortable routine: Sunday brunches, Wednesday date nights, the same tired conversations about work and bills and maybe someday having kids. Daniel was kind, dependable, the sort of man who remembered to change the air filters and refill my birth control prescription without being asked. And I was suffocating. The first crack happened at Marcus and Priya's anniversary party. We'd been married 5 years by then. Daniel was chatting with some guys from his finance firm about golf handicaps while I nursed my third vodka soda, counting down the minutes until we could leave. "You look like you'd rather be getting a root canal." The voice came from my left, smooth as aged whiskey. When I turned, Lucien Moretti was leaning against the bar, one eyebrow arched in amusement. I'd seen him at company events before, the hotshot attorney from our mergers and acquisitions team, but we'd never spoken. "Am I that obvious?" I laughed, swirling the ice in my glass. "Only to people who pay attention." His smile revealed a single dimple on his right cheek. "Lucien." "Celine." I know. That should have been my first warning. It started innocently enough. A coffee meeting to discuss the Henderson account. Then drinks after work to debrief. Then suddenly I was checking my phone constantly, deleting messages, inventing girls' nights out so I could spend hours at Lucien's downtown loft. The first time we slept together, I cried in his bathroom afterward. Not out of guilt, but terror, because I'd never felt so alive, and that realization shattered me. Ivy was the only one who suspected. "You're different lately," she said one evening as we painted our nails in her apartment. My best friend since college, Ivy Montgomery, knew me better than anyone. Including Daniel. Good different or bad different? I focused too hard on applying the ruby red polish. She caught my wrist. "Are you having an affair?" The directness startled me. I could have confessed then. Maybe things would have turned out differently if I had. Instead, I lied. "Of course not. Daniel and I are fine." The way she studied me made my skin prickle. "Be careful, Celine. Some fires burn too hot to control." Daniel found out on a Tuesday. I'd been careless, leaving my email open on our shared laptop. A hotel confirmation from last weekend, when I'd supposedly been at a marketing conference in Chicago. He confronted me in that quiet, devastating way of his. No shouting. No accusations. Just, "Is there someone else?" And after a heartbeat that stretched into eternity, I said yes. What followed was the most civilized breakup imaginable. No messy fights over furniture. No dramatic courtroom scenes. Just two people signing papers at a lawyer's office, dividing 7 years of shared life into neat columns of assets and liabilities. The last time I saw Daniel as my husband, he hugged me. Actually hugged me. His voice cracked when he said, "I just want you to be happy." That moment should have broken me. Instead, it set me free. Lucien and I married in Tuscany 6 months later. Ivy stood beside me in a champagne-colored bridesmaid dress, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. The first year was everything I'd dreamed: extravagant vacations, passionate fights followed by even more passionate makeups, a penthouse with views of the city skyline. But slowly, the cracks began to show. Lucien's temper flared over minor slights. His business trips left him unreachable for days. The man who had once hung on my every word now barely looked up from his phone. Then, on an ordinary Thursday afternoon, the mail arrived. The envelope was thick, expensive stock. The kind used for. My fingers trembled as I pulled out the embossed card. Together with their families. Ivy Catherine Montgomery. And Daniel James Westwood. Request the honor of your presence. The room tilted. I read it 3 times before the words made sense. Ivy. And Daniel. Getting married. The dates lined up perfectly. They must have started seeing each other mere weeks after my divorce was finalized. As I sank onto the marble floor of the kitchen I'd chosen over my marriage, a terrible realization dawned. Karma wasn't just coming for me. She'd brought receipts. I must have stared at it for a full 10 minutes, my mind racing through every interaction Ivy and Daniel had ever had in my presence. The way she'd always laughed a little too hard at his dry jokes. How he remembered her favorite wine. That weekend last summer when they'd both been too busy to answer my texts. My phone buzzed with a text from Lucian, working late again. Don't wait up. I almost laughed. The irony was too perfect. I showed up at Ivy's apartment unannounced, the invitation crumpled in my fist. She opened the door wearing one of Daniel's old college sweatshirts, one I'd bought him as an anniversary gift. Her face went pale. Celine, I can explain. You're sleeping with my ex-husband. My voice was eerily calm. She swallowed hard. It's not like that. We didn't even start talking until after your divorce was final. Bullshit. I shoved past her into the apartment, our apartment, the one we'd shared as roommates before I married Daniel. The same framed photo of us from graduation still sat on the bookshelf. Now it felt like a sick joke. Ivy closed the door slowly. Daniel and I ran into each other at the coffee shop near his office. We started talking. Then one day, he told me how lonely he'd been. How much it destroyed him when you left. I scoffed. So you thought you'd comfort him? In bed. It wasn't like that. Her eyes flashed with something I'd never seen before, real anger. You threw him away, Celine. You treated him like garbage. And yet he still loved you. Still defended you when I called you selfish. The words hit like a slap. You talked about me? Of course we did. She crossed her arms. You were the ghost in every conversation. The shadow between us. But here's the thing, he got over you. And I helped him do it. I should have left then. Should have cut my losses and walked away. But then I saw it. On her fridge, half hidden behind a takeout menu, a sonogram. My breath left my body. You're pregnant. Ivy's hand flew to her stomach protectively. 4 months. The math was undeniable. She'd gotten pregnant right around the time Lucian started working late. Right around the time my husband had become distant. A slow, ugly realization dawned on me. Does Daniel know? Her silence was answer enough. I laughed. I couldn't help it. The absurdity was too much. You're marrying my ex-husband while carrying my current husband's baby? Ivy's face crumpled. It's not Lucian's. Then who? The door opened behind me. Daniel stood there, holding 2 coffee cups, one black his, one with a splash of almond milk, hers. Just like he used to bring me. His eyes locked onto mine, then dropped to the sonogram on the fridge. His expression shifted from shock to something far worse, pity. Oh Celine, he said softly. You really didn't know? The room spun. Ivy reached for Daniel's hand. We were going to tell you after the wedding. Tell me what? My voice broke. Daniel took a deep breath. The baby's mine, Celine. Ivy and I have been together for over a year. The dates didn't make sense. The timeline was impossible. Unless. My stomach dropped. You were cheating on me while I was cheating on you. Daniel didn't deny it. He just looked at Ivy with a tenderness that made my chest ache. We never meant for this to happen. But after you left. You what? Fell in love. I choked out. With my best friend. Ivy stepped forward. You made your choice, Celine. Now we've made ours. I turned to leave, my vision blurring. But Daniel's voice stopped me. Lucian knows, by the way. I froze. What? He came to see me last month, Daniel said quietly. He wanted my blessing to divorce you. The floor dropped out from under me. He's been seeing someone else for a while now. Guess some habits are hard to break. Daniel's smile was sad. Funny how karma works, isn't it? I don't remember driving home. The penthouse was dark when I arrived. Lucian's suitcase sat by the door, already packed. He stood by the window, phone in hand. When he saw me, he didn't look surprised. Just tired. I assume Daniel told you, he said. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Lucian sighed. I'll be at the Hilton tonight. My lawyer will be in touch. As the door closed behind him, my phone buzzed. A new email notification. Subject, wedding invitation update. Attached, revised guest list, your name removed. I sank to the floor, the weight of my choices crushing me at last. The cruelest twist of all? I'd lost everything. And Daniel? He'd won. The night Lucian left, I shattered every wine glass in our penthouse. The sound of crystal exploding against marble was cathartic, each shard a tiny rebellion against the perfect life that had been nothing but smoke and mirrors. By the time I collapsed on the floor, my hands were bleeding, but I barely felt the pain. The Rayol wound went much deeper. 3 days passed in a haze of vodka and unanswered calls. Then, on the 4th morning, I woke up with a clarity that scared me. Something didn't add up. Daniel and Ivy's timeline was impossible. If they'd only gotten together after my divorce, how was she already 4 months pregnant? Unless... I grabbed my laptop with still shaking hands and did what any scorned woman would do in the digital age. I cyberstalked my best friend. Her Instagram showed cozy dinners with Daniel dating back 9 months. Her tagged photos included a weekend getaway to Napa Valley. During the same week I'd been in Paris with Lucian. The comments were filled with inside jokes that spoke of intimacy. But the smoking gun came from an unexpected source, Ivy's sister's Facebook. A photo from last Thanksgiving, back when I was still married to Daniel. The caption read, "So glad Ivy could bring her work friend to dinner." And there in the background, barely visible behind the turkey platter, was Daniel's unmistakable watch, the one I'd bought him for our 3rd anniversary. They'd been lying. I showed up at Daniel's new apartment with printed screenshots and a voice recorder running in my pocket. He opened the door wearing sweatpants and exhaustion. "Celine, this isn't a good. You were cheating on me first." I shoved the photos into his chest. Daniel's face went through 3 emotions in rapid succession: shock, calculation, then resignation. He stepped aside wordlessly. His apartment was a shrine to the life I'd thrown away. Same books, same framed Ansel Adams prints, even the damn coffee maker I'd picked out. The only difference? Ivy's shoes by the door. Her perfume in the air. "I never meant to hurt you," he said finally. I barked out a laugh. "That's rich." Daniel sank onto the couch, running a hand through hair that was noticeably grayer than when we'd been together. "It started about a year before you left. Just lunch dates at first. Then you were fucking my best friend behind my back while judging me for doing the same?" His head snapped up. "It wasn't like that. Ivy and we connected. She understood me in ways you never did." The words landed like a physical blow. I should have left then. Should have let the ashes of my marriage stay buried. But fate had one last twist in store. The bedroom door creaked open. Ivy emerged in one of Daniel's dress shirts, her baby bump unmistakable now. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Then she did something unexpected. She smiled. "You figured it out," she said calmly. "Took you long enough." Daniel stood abruptly. "Ivy, don't. Oh please." She waved him off. "She deserves to know the truth." A chill ran down my spine. "What truth?" Ivy crossed the room with that same effortless grace that had always made me jealous. She opened a drawer and pulled out a manila folder. "Remember when you told me you were pregnant with Lucian's baby? 2 years ago." My blood turned to ice. Ivy's smile turned razor sharp. "The miscarriage that devastated you? The one that made you pull away from Daniel?" She tossed the folder at my feet. "You never were." The pages spilled out, medical records from the clinic where Ivy worked as a nurse. Falsified test results. A positive pregnancy test that had never existed. "I knew you'd run straight to Lucian if you thought you were carrying his child," Ivy said. "And I was right." Daniel looked between us, horrified. You set her up?" The room tilted. All those nights Ivy had held me while I cried about losing the baby. The way she'd encouraged me to follow my heart when I confessed my affair. The perfect timing of her comfort when Daniel and I grew distant. It had all been calculated. "You wanted him for yourself," I whispered. Ivy didn't deny it. "Daniel was always too good for you. You were too selfish to see it." She placed a possessive hand on her stomach. "Now he's mine. The baby's mine. The life you threw away is mine." Daniel looked sick. "Ivy, you manipulated us both." Her laugh was chilling. "And yet you're still here." I left them standing there, the betrayed and the betrayer, bound together by lies and a baby that may or may not have been conceived in innocence. The elevator doors had just closed when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Message, "Check your email." The attachment was security footage from Lucian's office building. Time stamped from yesterday. There, clear as day, was Ivy, meeting my husband in a dimly lit parking garage at 11 p.m. The way they embraced wasn't friendly. It was familiar. The final piece clicked into place. She'd never stopped seeing him. 1 month later. Daniel and Ivy's wedding was cancelled, thanks to an anonymous tip to the state medical board about falsified records. Lucian's firm launched an internal investigation after leaked emails showed he'd been sharing confidential client information. And me? I boarded a flight to Bali with a new passport, a hefty divorce settlement, and the satisfaction of knowing I hadn't been the villain in this story after all. Just the pawn. As the plane lifted off, I opened the last text I'd ever sent to any of them. Checkmate. The sound of the airplane engine hummed as I stared out the window, watching the city that had been my entire life shrink beneath me. My hands clutched a one-way ticket to Bali and a brand new passport under the name Elena Reyes. The divorce settlement had been generous. Lucian was eager to make me disappear after the scandal broke. And what a scandal it had been. The anonymous tip I'd sent to the medical board had done its job. Ivy's nursing license was suspended pending an investigation into falsified medical records. Without her income and reputation, the lavish wedding she'd planned with Daniel was cancelled. Lucian hadn't fared much better. The leaked emails detailing his unethical dealings with clients had sparked an internal investigation at his firm. Last I heard, he was scrambling to save his career, and his latest mistress, not Ivy as it turned out, had already left him. As for Daniel, he'd called me the night everything imploded. Did you know? His voice had been raw. Did you know she was playing us both? I hadn't answered. Some questions are better left hanging in the air. Before I left, I made sure to tie up one last loose end. A carefully timed email sent to Daniel, Ivy, and Lucian, with attachments. A security footage of Ivy and Lucian meeting in secret for months. A text messages between them, discussing how to manipulate me into leaving Daniel. A bank records showing payments from Lucian to Ivy, for services rendered. A DNA test I discreetly arranged, proving the baby wasn't Daniel's after all. I didn't stick around to see their reactions. Now, as the plane soared above the clouds, I allowed myself to smile for the first time in months. I hadn't been the villain in this story. I'd just been the one who refused to stay defeated. What would you have done in my place? Would you have walked away silently, like Daniel initially did? Would you have fought back like I did, exposing every lie? Or would you have played the game even dirtier? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Was I wrong for burning everything down? Should I have given Daniel a second chance? Did Ivy deserve what she got, or was I too ruthless? Subscribe to EX Confessions Unlocked for more gripping stories.